Hello and welcome to Aureus Medical's Travel 101 webinar. My name is V. Goodwin and I am going to be your presenter for today. I'm going to talk about several things today regarding traveling. We will talk about the ins and outs of entering a travel healthcare career. I'm going to talk a little bit about who we are as a company. We'll address both local and nationwide travel, as well as travel basics and things to know when you are accepting an assignment. So a little bit about Aureus. We are a full-service nationwide staffing firm. So we staff facilities in all 50 states. We're based in Omaha, Nebraska, and we staff for both allied and nursing specialties. So if you think rehab therapy, imaging, cardiology, and we staff a number of those allied professions as well as those nursing specialties. So whichever position you're looking for, don't hesitate to reach out. And then we also staff for both contract and direct hire positions. So yes, we're here to talk about travel health care, but if you ever find yourself in a position to look for a full-time staff position, we help with those direct hire placements as well. And then we're very, very big in community involvement. So we love to reach out to our local community, and we have the Kim Foundation, which helps with mental health awareness as well as doing a number of service projects throughout the year. Now let's talk a little bit about what does travel healthcare mean. Travel healthcare is really an industry centered around facilities that have a temporary need for a number of reasons, which we'll address here in a little bit. But what they need are professionals who can come in and really hit the ground running and be able to help fill these temporary staffing needs. So there are two types of travel. There's going to be local and nationwide. Now, with local travel, think about being able to come home daily. You're usually staying within a certain radius, and typically with that you have a higher taxable wage. But just kind of know with that too that there may be some inconsistent hours. You may not always have that consistent work, and you typically don't qualify for those non-taxable stipends. Now, for nationwide travel, that's where you have the options in all 50 states and where you do receive the non-taxable reimbursements for both meals and housing. Oftentimes you're eligible for full benefits with the agency that you're working with. Cancellations can occur with them, just kind of keep that in mind, and as well as them being very quick-oriented and fast-paced. So they're looking for somebody who can hit the ground running and come in and be just as skilled as their own staff to be able to come into these environments and get going. Also kind of keep in mind, too, that not all staffing firms are created equal. I always recommend, doing your research on various staffing firms to make sure that you're comparing apples to apples as far as what they're offering with pay packages, what they're offering for benefits. And just so you know, for the rest of this presentation, we will be covering nationwide travel. Okay, so travel basics. Let's talk a little bit about licensure, financials as far as starting an assignment, job opportunities that are available, and professionalism. All right, so with licensure, when you graduate, you're going to apply for that initial license by exam. That's going to give you your first license, and then licenses after that will be the license by endorsement. So when you're looking at your board's website, kind of know the difference between those. And also know that depending on your profession, whether you're an RN, OT, PT, etc., there are some different terms that are attached to licenses. So things like walkthrough states for the nurses, registration for OTs, license applicants for PTs. So just kind of be aware of what's going to be for your profession. And then I always recommend printing off the checklist that it takes to get that license. Plan ahead and start reading through all of the requirements line by line to check them off. Boards aren't necessarily going to let you know when an item hasn't been completed or submitted, and if you want to kind of dot your I's, cross your T's, make sure that you've done everything that you can, I highly recommend, like I said, printing that off and going through each step one by one. Also want to address the difference between single state and compact licensure. This is especially important for nurses as well as PTs now. A single state license basically allows you to practice in one state versus a compact license that allows you to practice in a number of states that are part of that compact. And I'm going to show you a couple maps here. We talk a little bit about the Enhanced Nurse Licensure Compact and the PT Compact. So if you have a compact license, it does grant you reciprocity in any of the other compact states. But you do need to have your permanent residence in that same state. So, like I said, I'm here in Nebraska. Nebraska is a compact state for nursing. So, if you have a Nebraska permanent residence, then you can use that in all of the other green states that are up there. And the blue states are still pending. For the PT compact, you still have, there are some states that are already part of it, some that are pending, and then some that are still introduced and looking to move forward in that process. Licensure and especially the compact can be a little confusing. So if you do have more questions on that, feel free to check your board's website or you can reach out to us for additional questions on that too. Okay, so there are some financial things to think about when you're starting in a travel assignment. There's a lot of upfront costs. Most travelers take their own vehicles to a work location, and so you have to think about getting to your first assignment. What does that look like? And how are you planning to get there? There also may be some upfront costs as far as any additional licensure and certifications that are needed, and then just some general housekeeping considerations, making sure that you have your car maintained. If you are breaking a lease to travel, what any rental fees that are involved with that, as well as storage facility fees for storing any of the belongings that you're not bringing with you. And then if you do have your pets, if you have somebody taking care of your pets, there may be some fees incurred with that. But if you're bringing your pets with you, which is usually not a problem, then you will be responsible for pet deposits and then housing costs if you choose to find the housing on your own. I highly recommend having a checklist of things that you're needing to do, including any expenses that you're needing to take care of and whatnot before you head out. I mean, this is a really important time to make sure that you have, again, all of those I's dotted and T's crossed. We have a first travel assignment guide that you can get from us. It does have a checklist, or feel free to make your own, but definitely have something to make sure that you have gotten through everything that you need to think about, and then things that you may not have thought to think about. So definitely want to work on that. And then we'll talk a little bit about understanding the pay package. With the pay package, you have a typical pay structure. It's going to be a taxable hourly wage plus those non-taxable allotments, which we had mentioned earlier. So meals and incidentals plus housing. Those three components typically are what make up your weekly pay. Now, keep in mind that pay packages can differ across staffing firms, as mentioned before, and different components can be added and subtracted. I usually like to think of the pay package as like a pie of funds. And so if you have this pie and you add more pieces to the pie, then the other pieces are going to get smaller. So just kind of take that into consideration when you are kind of working with that pay package. And also just make sure that you fully understand your pay package when it's being presented to you, but also when you're signing that contract. Job opportunities. Okay, so let's talk on potential reasons that we hire for contract positions. Some things to take into consideration, whether you're a seasoned healthcare traveler or a novice, and then assignment details. So, like I said, there are lots of reasons why facilities will use a traveler. It could be seasonal changes. You have, in the winter time, you have a lot of people who kind of head to the south, a lot of times like Florida and Arizona. So you have these census spikes, and so they need travelers to come in and help them take care of those additional patients. You also see census grows, so as hospitals expand, as units expand, they need help to cover those expansions. And then staff changes, so people get promoted. If you have anybody who's on leave, like FMLA or maternity leave, they'll need some help to cover those as well. And then one other one that I always like to mention would be those computer conversions. So if you have hospitals that are looking to change their computer systems, they'll need travelers who can come in who already know how to use that so that they can take care of those patients while they train their own employees. Now, there's going to be a lot of information here talking about whether you can travel as a new graduate or as a seasoned professional. For most medical settings, you do need to be seasoned, meaning that you need about 12 to 24 months of hospital or work experience. The exception would be for rehab PTs and OTs. They can travel in settings that are specifically set for new grad friendly. There are also school options available for rehab therapy professions, but most units in medical settings are going to be available once you have reached that 12 to 24-month mark of experience. Most contracts are going to be 13 weeks, so the industry standard is looking at about 3 months somewhere before deciding kind of what you're going to do next. And like I said before, we are a nationwide staffing firm, and these options are available nationwide with a good mix of both rural and urban populations. If you are a new grad rehab therapist, you will want to be flexible on location to find facilities that are aware of bringing on a new grad as well as a first-time traveler. As far as compliance goes, think about traveling when as starting a new job almost every 13 weeks. So there's compliance when you start a new job as far as clinic work, paperwork, things like that. And these are set by the governing boards, the facilities, and the agency that you're working with. So I always just say to be prompt and prepare for them, know that they're coming to get those out of the way. And then lastly, with orientation and mentorship, if you're a seasoned professional, you're going to get very little orientation, about a day or two to typically to go ahead and get you up to speed as far as hospital policies and procedures. And then, as mentioned before, they are going to want you to hit the ground running. It's going to be a fast-paced environment. They are expected to be ready to go. As far as new graduates for rehab therapy, we would be looking for those new grad-friendly facilities that know that they're bringing on somebody who is a new graduate. We do have for first-time travelers for nursing our clinical resource team to kind of help walk you through any additional questions that you might have for that. And then also know that new grad traveling therapists do have mentors available through Aureus. Okay, so last thing here, assignment details. There are a lot of things that you're going to want to know about the facility that you're working with or going to be working at. And these are things that you're going to want to keep track of, including the facility name, unit, department, and location. If it's part of a health system, know exactly which facility you're going to. And for that first day, know where you're going to go for that. When you're looking at your assignment contract, ask about the guaranteed hours. Ask if there's a cancellation policy and what that looks like. Clarify that your start and end dates are correct. And then one that I think is extremely important are time off requests. If you have any time off requests, you're going to want to make sure that you get those approved ahead of time so that they can be in your contract. And then double check that pay package again. Make sure that it's completely as you understand it. You'll want to know who your reporting supervisor is, any attire that is required. So if you have a specific scrub color or things like that, you'll want to know that. What your orientation looks like, and then lastly, what compliance is going to be needed. So just some parting thoughts. One of the things that I always say that is one of the biggest characteristics that you could have as a traveler is to be flexible. You know, knowing that hospitals and facilities, they are needing you to come in and be flexible, and there's a lot of flexibility provided with being a traveler as well. But with that, know also what your reason is for traveling. Know your why, and let that guide you. You know, is your why that you're wanting to be able to see the country and, you know, explore a lot of the outdoor activities that are available? Is it that you have student loans that you're trying to pay off, and so you're wanting to find facilities and contracts that are going to pay a little bit more so that you can get that goal sooner? You know, let that guide you in choosing contracts, and being flexible will help you open you up to contracts that you may not have thought of that still meet your why. You know, location and pay are two big things, and understanding, you know, how to be flexible with that will help you make sure that you have that consistent employment and have the contracts that are going to fulfill your goals. So with that, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to travel@aureusmedical.com to schedule that consultation. If you have additional, if you want more additional information, you can reach out there for that as well. I thank you so much for your time today, and we look forward to hearing from you. Have a good day.